don't build your identity around being needed. And I think this is like one of the most common mistakes, especially that younger professionals make. It's certainly a mistake that I made. And it's like just the easiest mistake to make because it'll draw you in, right? So what I mean by it is your goal shouldn't be to become indispensable. Your goal should be to become valuable.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Do That podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Waltrich, and with me today, the amazing Dani Fava.
Thanks for having me, Kelly.
Yes, girl. Chief of Strategy at Carson Group. You have had quite the transition and transformation over the past couple years. Tell us about where you are, what you're doing, what you're loving, and what Carson is up to.
Yeah, I am the Chief Strategy Officer over at Carson, and that means a lot of things. I run our technology, product, data platforms, our tech platform, our investments platform, and private client services, which is something new that we just launched along with our advanced planning team. So a lot of things over there at Carson, a big chunk of what I would call our client offering. So really anything that our advisors interact with or are utilizing is run out of the strategy organizations. It's been an incredibly fun job. I love the RIA space. I always say if you can't be an entrepreneur, surround yourself in service of entrepreneurs. And I've been loving every moment of it. And what we're up to at Carson is we're kind of pivoting our tech stack into being more AI native. We are creating capacity for our advisors at a fast clip. And with that capacity that we create for them, we're helping them win higher net worth and more complex households. So we're creating this like virtuous cycle of growth, right? Create capacity for them, help them fill that capacity with higher, more complex households, which typically beget more higher net worth, complex households, and we'll just kind of keep creating that capacity and that engine for growth for them. And we've been incredibly successful. We recently announced that we crossed the $50 billion threshold. Our organic growth is in the double digits now. And it's just, it's been a fun ride.
Okay, so creating capacity, what are some of the most interesting and exciting ways you're doing that? I've obviously seen some press releases, some of the partnerships that you have, but give our listeners sort of an overview to the extent you can of your biggest wins in that area.
Yeah, so I would say recently the biggest wins are AI based. So we are in the client meetings now with the advisor with AI summarization and note taking, but it goes far beyond that. So we're creating this capacity for them not only to get out of the business of having to send meeting follow-ups, we're also capturing tasks, moving those tasks automatically to the next step in the workflow. And even further, what we're kind of doing behind the scenes now is becoming more agentic. So executing some of those tasks for them and kind of doing things without them even asking, right? Because we can trigger it based on the data.
That is amazing. Okay. What did we do before we had AI note takers? Like, it's one of these moments where you think to yourself, like, that was not that long ago, and I can't imagine a world where we have to take notes.
Where we have to take notes. I know, and where those notes live on paper rather than already in the system. And then the notes that are in the system, we can start acting on them agentically. Like imagine a world where we used to have to do all of these things manually, take the notes, bring the notes into the system, act on the notes, execute the next step. And all of these things can happen automatically. You can really start to envision a future where the RIA, your typical RIA who used to be able to handle 100 to 125 households can now manage 200, 300 households. And like the enterprise value that the RIA practice can create now with this additional capacity and the margin expansion that we can create with this additional automation, it's really magical. And it's kind of fun.
It is magical. So we, if you think about areas that can be disrupted, marketing is obviously one of them. So I've been a crazy person about this intentionally. And we did our own mini holiday hackathon where we gave all the teams challenges to solve. Okay, we're spending way too much time here. This is super ridiculous how we're handling this. This is so manual." And so all the teams had a challenge and they all presented ways using AI that we can streamline our business. And it was so fun. And that sounds like what you get to do every day. Yes?
Yes, it's a big part of what I get to do every day. And we start with the problems that we're trying to solve. We start by just talking to our advisors. So we're in like, deep study mode and learning mode all the time on what are our high growth advisors doing? And then how do we help them continue to stay focused on what they're doing or free them up from the manual things they're doing so they can get back to the things that really help them win. So it's so fun for me because I get both sides of that, the time spent with these incredible entrepreneurs, learning from them, and then in the on the other side, automating, for other partners what they do really well and freeing them up to do the things that they love. And it's fun. It's really
Oh my
fun.
gosh. So I remember talking to you. You and I had breakfast when you were looking for your next challenge. And I just remember thinking, like, whoever ends up with her is lucky and that you were going to light the world on fire. And because I don't know, I feel like you've been talking about these things so far before everybody else was willing to listen. I remember you were standing on stage at T3 and I was just in the back and, you know, doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I just remember thinking, like, she's talking and none of these people are they're nodding their heads and they're smiling, but they don't believe that this is really the world that we're about to walk into. I don't know if you remember that talk about what the future was going to be, but here we are, and like you've been beating this drum all along. So do you feel what is? I mean, do you feel so excited to be able to like? I mean, this is right. This is real, right?
It is real. I know it's like it is kind of a I've never thought about it like that, but you're right. It is kind of this like tipping moment for me where yeah, I've been talking about these things. I mean, I've been working with AI and machine learning for about 12 years now. And that's sounds crazy to people because generative AI really only, got into the consumer's hands when ChatGPT was launched, what, three years ago?
Yeah.
And so it's brand new to everybody, but you're right. I've been beating this drum on like, hey, we're about to see this kind of acceleration in our industry and it's so exciting. And I don't know what the word to use is. It's very satisfying for me to now see everyone else excited about it. Like it's like I've been trying to get all of my friends to join my secret club for so long and like now everybody's finally in it and so I'm having fun with everyone who's also, kind of on the same page now. It's good.
Awesome. So it probably takes a certain type of advisor or team to embrace what you're trying to bring to the table. Obviously, I work with lots of types of advisors, and I can sort of pinpoint the ones that I think get it and want to. But inertia is a real thing in this industry. So talk us through like how you pinpoint the right people, how you
Yeah.
get them excited, how you get them to adopt these things. Like, what does that look like?
And it used to be much harder. So I've been also working with RIA, technology adoption, and struggling with through inertia in the space for a while. And it used to be very hard. We would do everything we could to, we want you to hear from your peers who are having success. We want to be able to measure that success so we can show you real results, so get you to engage. It used to be much harder. I'm actually experiencing something new with with these AI use cases, with these AI, with the transition into AI. It's so exciting and so evident right away what the value is that advisors are adopting this technology faster than I've ever seen. It's almost easy, we create it, we launch it out there into the world, and the value is so evident that our adoption at Carson is, immediate and yeah, it's kind of happening organically rather than, us having to sort of convince.
Okay, so it feels like the easy button, right? Like if you think about the last time we went through this technology revolution thing where all the fintechs were starting to emerge, you still had to learn pretty intensely how to use every single one of them, how to connect every single one of them, how to train people, how to hire people. It was hard. it was exciting, but it was hard. Like, I'm just thinking back to my e-money days, and now this, it's like, it feels so different, right?
And it's part of what we call natural language, right? So AI is kind of designed and built to interact with people using the language that they use to interact. And I think that's what makes it so easy to adopt is that, it's you're talking to the software, right? You're giving instructions in the same way you would give instructions to your colleagues or your peers, and so it fits so naturally right into your workflow. And so that piece of what you're talking about, like that high steep learning curve and the training and the like jargon that you'd have to learn up front is sort of it's not part of the playbook anymore.
Wild. Okay, so advisors are embracing this. I saw one case study with one of your partners that said it's giving them back how many hours of time? Like, what do you think? How are you quantifying?
On average, we're hearing 8 hours a week. So that's a full work day every week that our advisors are able to regain by using the software.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me, I feel like, Carson has a little bit of a leg up in that you have you figuring this out, but also the teams behind you. So just give like listeners a little bit of an overview of like what it takes to get to this point. Even though it feels like the easy button, we know it's not. Like there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes to get there. So like what does it take?
Yeah, and I'll say the first and probably biggest hurdle to overcome is around your data.
Yeah.
And we've been saying this a lot at Carson, and it's kind of hard for, I think, the layperson to understand, but AI really needs access to data to be
Yeah.
successful in any form, right? Whether it's generative or agentic, it really needs unfettered access to your data. And many RIA firms are allowing the vendors that they work with to own their data, right? So your data lives in Orion or your data lives in Salesforce or both, right? Your relational data lives in Salesforce and your transactional or your portfolio data lives in Orion and your transactional data lives in the custodian, which is fine for a tech stack, but when you want to deliver on these, incredible use cases using artificial intelligence, you have to own that data in a centralized place
Yep.
to be able to give AI the access to that data all at once so you can get the most complete answer and the right workflow and the right next step in the workflow. And Carson has been on that journey for about the last 5 years because of our founder, Omani Carson, really believed in the power and the value of data. So he came back 5 years ago into the firm and said, we're gonna hire a data person and they're gonna build us a data warehouse and we are gonna be industry leading on how we organize, tag, synthesize, and add a semantic layer on top of our data. And so that's what Carson did years ago. And I think that's what kind of gave us the
Yeah.
shortcut, right? When now that AI is so accessible and ready to use, we're able to use it in the most creative and complete ways where other firms are kind of a little they're figuring this out now, I
Yeah.
think, but are still a little bit behind on the road to get there. And it's not an easy road. It's expensive and it adds another layer of complexity and risk into the platform. And so you have to really be ready for that and be real experts on that. And it's a big leap.
Yeah. I feel like we're seeing more and more firms pop out of the woodwork that are trying to solve that problem on behalf of advisors, which is great and it's exciting. But you're right. Everyone from my point of view, we go into firms and we need strong data to drive segmented communications and campaigns and all that kind of stuff. And I will say that's probably a 1 in 10 that has the foundation for that kind of sophistication. Whereas the other 9 are still blasting the same message to everyone because they can't, they don't have it. So I definitely see that. We spend a lot of time trying to dig out of that from a marketing standpoint too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, I'm just curious, like, how often do you step outside of our industry to tap technologies or ideas? Because what I'm finding is there's a place for what's built for financial services because there's some really good stuff there. But there's definitely more and more a place for things that need to come from the outside that are moving a little bit faster. So just give me a sense of like, how do you balance that and how do you think about that?
Um, and it's a great question, because, there's only so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
but I think much of the inspiration that I get comes from the
Yep.
AI community at large and what other firms outside of our space are doing with AI and how they're solving problems. And like every day I listen to this an AI podcast that kind of covers what's happening in the industry and what's exciting and what other how other industries are moving forward, and I get a lot of the inspiration on what to do next from there. So
Yep.
it's I spend a good amount of my time kind of studying um, things that are happening outside of the industry. I don't think the financial services industry, we can credit it with a lot of things. We probably can't credit the financial services industry with being like the most innovative and the most cutting edge with regard to tech. So if you're going to do really incredible things, you probably need to pay attention to what's going on in the retail and consumer and spaces.
Yeah, I would say that on the marketing front, 1000%. We spend, we obviously work with all of the financial services CRMs and all that kind of stuff, but all the tools that we're layering into our toolbox that are so exciting are from the outside world. Um, and I think it's so interesting because the first question is, well, does that run through my compliance? And I'm like, well, when was the last time you thought through your compliance? Because maybe now's the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe now's the moment where you need a better way to not shut out all of the amazing things that you could be doing if you opened your eyes to some of these other opportunities. So we're going through that with um, a lot of firms right now. But actually, one of the really cool things that we're doing, I'm sure you saw my old boss launched a new AI tool, Hamachi. And so we're partnering with them to use their regulatory agents. So now all intentionally content will run through those regulatory agents, which is like really exciting. And hopefully, I haven't actually told anybody that outside of you until right now. But we obviously have we FINRA SEC lens when we're everything that we do, but now it's gonna be all built into our process, which is really cool.
And it's so cool and it's so obvious. When you think about AI and its ability to understand context now and its ability to kind of run through and understand and apply FINRA and SEC rules, um, probably better, I would say, than any human brain, right? Because it's all about memory and application to these different, the different contexts that you're using. So it seems like such an obvious place to insert AI, on that compliance review and how quickly it can read through. I mean, we have advisors sometimes who write books, right? And
Yeah.
so you can imagine just 2 years ago, it would be somebody in our compliance department would get the lucky job of like going to read the book and highlight the issues based on their knowledge and memory of the which is great, I'm sure, and through years of learning, but their memory and application of the FINRA and SEC rules and guidelines, and they're reading through this book. And then you compare that to this new technology where you can probably do that in seconds. And it's just it's an
Eye-opening.
obvious win for an OpEx and in a company and in terms of how quickly you can get through these things.
Yeah, I mean, it was really eye-opening because the first couple, reviews that we ran through it, I mean, the output was pages and pages and pages. Not that we did pages and pages and pages of things wrong, but if you think about these regulations, it's a lot. It's not one thing, it's 1,000 things that you have to think about, and so I'm hoping that this will arm, I'm hoping that this will arm compliance teams with more confidence in all of the things that are coming out of marketing in general, give them a faster way to move through things. Cause, we still run into compliance teams that are like, well, that will take 3 weeks to turn around. And I'm like, the world will change in 3 weeks and we will have a different campaign that needs to go out. That is not sustainable. So I'm really, really, really excited about it. So we'll see. And that's just, our little project that we're working on to make our agency more streamlined. But anyway, okay. So the premises of this show, Dani, as you know, is what not to do because I am a firm believer that we learn better from our mistakes and our failures. And you know what the best part of this whole thing has been is that it has become so abundantly clear that all the best people step in it all the time
Mm.
in like the best ways. And some of it is so hard and some of it is funny and some of it is like gut wrenching. But that has been my biggest takeaway from this is like all the people who do the best are willing to screw up first. Right? Like it just is true. It is true. Okay, so what are we not doing today?
What are we not doing?
Yeah.
Or what are we
What's your don't do that?
what's my don't do that? Okay, so my don't do that is don't build your identity around being needed. And I think this is like one of the most common mistakes, especially that younger professionals make. It's certainly a mistake that I made, and it's like just the easiest mistake to make because it's it'll draw you in, right? So what I mean by it is your goal shouldn't be to become indispensable. Your goal should be to become valuable. And like being needed feels like success. It feels like relevance. It feels like job security. And sometimes it actually is job security, right? Because you wanna be needed. You wanna be the person who gets the phone call every time there's a problem, like, "Come in and solve this problem. Come in and give me this answer. We need you." And a
Yes.
lot of people, like, get addicted to that feeling, right? And it's like, "I want you to need me. Yeah, I feel really indispensable because I'm needed. You need me in these situations." And they, like, lean into that, and they make that their identity, and it's a trap. It's really a trap.
Yeah.
It will box you in. It'll burn you out. You'll get that, like, kind of like that short-term, adrenaline from it, like that short-term, um, praise and dependence and, like, even some deference. And it's addictive, and what you're not recognizing in those moments that you're, leaning into being needed is that you're not able to become a multiplier. You can't be a true leader
Yeah.
if you're needed, and I see it play out a lot of times in advisory firms where the CEO or the founder has really built a practice around being needed, and they've actually trained their clients that their clients need them, right? And that's terrible for enterprise value because your firm just doesn't have enterprise value when you are the product, right? So we see it play out in executive leadership and advisory firm founders, and even like in our personal lives. And I've got this kind of going on now in my personal life. Like you as a parent, right? You kind of make your identity being needed by your children, and then you are, like I am now, all of a sudden an empty nester. And it's actually like kind of painful, and you're kind of going through this like rediscovery of yourself. And it's
Yeah.
really hard when you hit a certain age to like reevaluate your identity. And so my advice, like, don't do that, is don't build your identity in any facet of your life. Don't build your identity around being needed. Add value and teach people how to think on their own, and you know continue to develop yourself, like continue to lean into these areas of discomfort, right? Like I could and I still love talking about AI and building AI, and but I could have easily like gotten boxed into that,
Yeah.
right? And never, branched out into other areas of service and product build. And what does it take to serve a high net worth client? Like that's not AI is not going to solve that problem for you. And so you've got to like lean into these other areas to become a true leader
Yeah.
and to really build a full organization that and you need to become a multiplier, right? I can't do all of the thinking. I'll become a bottleneck.
Right.
I need so many people around me who can do that thinking and solve those problems. And so, what I need to do for those people is empower them, enable them, bring them up, put the right people in the right seats. That's true leadership.
Yeah.
And once they don't need me, they actually are running on their own. I can go to other areas and continue to build. And you think about like that virtuous cycle of growth that you're creating. Um, that's leadership.
Okay, I love that. I I think it takes a certain kind of organization to feel comfortable with that concept, right? Especially when you're younger and maybe not at like the top of the organization. Because to think to yourself, like, I'm gonna empower all these people to shine, it is like it's a thing. Because if you're in the wrong organization, and I've seen it happen too many times, where you have good leaders empowering their people, pushing them out in front, making sure their ideas are heard, and then they end up with their job. I swear I've seen it. So, like, what is your advice for organization? How do you get to be at a point where you feel comfortable doing
Yeah.
those things?
You feel comfortable, like, giving up the spotlight and giving up,
Well,
like, the
not
ownership.
even not you individually, but like how do you lead an organization so that people feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about trust. It really is all about trust, right? So you are consistently pouring into your people, right? And you're consistently, like you said, putting them out so that they can shine, but it's a relationship that's all built on trust, right? You are creating a roadmap and a strategy, and you're setting them on a path, and
Yeah.
you're empowering them to figure out how to navigate that path, right? And the trust is, hey, look, like you can make a mistake and that's okay. Like the freedom to fail is also like really important,
Yep.
and the trust that, I'm still going to be here supporting you and helping you work through it. That's what your people need to develop. Now, will am I developing people to the point where they'll take my job? Like I kind of hope so in a way. Like I kind of hope so. Like I don't want to be the product, right? I don't want to be the bottleneck. I don't want the organization. I don't want to have the organization need me. I want the organization to want me to be in that seat, right?
Yeah.
And I don't wanna, like, handcuff them to me, right?
Yeah.
I wanna continue to build, and then when my people can take my job, like, great, like, I should be doing something else, right? Like, I should be pivoting to another place in the organization, or we should be expanding our target market or expanding our product set. Like, they should be able to do my job eventually so that I can go pivot into other things and we can continue to grow.
I love that.
Because if you don't have that kind of a if you don't have that, you can't grow. Like, you just
Yes. I mean, I feel like in my soul what you're saying because I very much and intentionally am like, guys, you should be out front, do the things. But you and I talked about this before our call, before we turned on the recorder. Like, be out front, do the things, be the faces. I don't want to be that. And same thing with our clients. Like, I don't take clients. I have people who take clients. If they need me, I'm here. Tap me in. I'm ready to go. But like, I feel very similarly in that. Like, I want, and you know what's awesome about that is Omani has said that from day one. I remember like 20 years ago, him talking about building, the 100-year firm that's not reliant on one person. And I'm sure everybody still relies on him in some way or another, but look at how he handed off to the next generation. You guys are crushing it, crushing it. And to be able to do that, like you really have to believe that, right?
and we're still using so many of his principles. Like, he's set true groundwork, right? Like, he really set the roadmap and, like, the principles and the foundation, and then he like got out of the way and let us all run it. And he's on to bigger and better, more important things like, solving the planet's water crisis. Like, like he's, so
That,
he's
like, only
pivoted
he can.
right, only he can. And one of Omani's something that he says so often, which I love, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And like that's like a principle that he's, build the team. You are not the product. You should not be the bottleneck. You should be the multiplier and the enabler, and you should be building a team of people who could all individually take your place. And they will, and you'll go on to bigger and better
With
and more
things.
important things to either grow the company or, do or solve a bigger problem.
Yep, I love it. Okay, so for our listeners, the advisors out there who are thinking like, how do I get out of my own way? And how do I make sure that I am creating enterprise value and I'm not the centerpiece of this business? Like is your advice to them?
It's a couple of things. It's one, always be in search of G2s. So you need to be hiring your replacement and hire talent when you see it. Don't hire talent when you need it. So that's something that our most successful firms do. Always have a team approach. So as much as you want your clients to view you as the smartest person in the room, instead of taking that view, take the view of, I want my clients to know there's a team here. So if anything ever happens to me or if I ever step away, like they are going to be well taken care of. And all of our high growth advisors use a team approach in all of their client meetings. They're never the only person in the client meeting. There's always multiple people there. There's a team there and their clients know their team's names, right? It's not about, it's all my investments. It's all my thinking. You need to follow me. It's not that you're not creating, disciples in that way. You're creating, a team of valued individuals who are all able to serve. Um, and I think do that as early as you can. It's kind of, we see a lot of firms come in when they're ready for transition and they're ready to move on and they're just starting to look for their G2 or they're just starting to develop their G2. And that's good. But what's better is when we see a firm and there's real value here. Like we have a valuation calculator that measures these things. Like this isn't just like,
Right.
it looks nice and it is nice. No, we're like, we're measuring the value of the firm in dollars based on some of these variables that are, is there a
Yeah.
viable G2? Is there more than one viable G2 that contributes to enterprise value? And if it's, so do it early, do it often, do it well, and build a team of people that trust you and that you trust, and that's evident. And those kind of once you have that like team culture, it's also a lot more fun, right? Like
Right.
it's just so much
Yes.
better.
Why do you think so many people don't understand that like life is short and you spend the majority of your time at work? So work with people you like
Work with people
adore.
you adore. I know, and I really think it comes back to the don't that I'm saying to do, right? I think people just build their identity around being needed,
Yeah.
and they don't think about, like, working with people they love and people they wanna share knowledge with. They
Right.
don't, like, view it that way. They build an identity around being needed, and that's not a culture that's conducive to, fun
Or
and
growth. Yeah.
yeah, or growth. That's right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So let's talk about being moms for a hot second. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old. And the thought of them not needing me rocks my world. Like even you just saying that, I'm having goosebumps over here. I am. So my 6-year-old just started sleeping in his own bed. And guys, I know who listeners are appalled by this. I don't care because I will take the cuddles till the end of time. Till the
Yeah.
end of time. Well, he just started sleeping in his own bed, and my husband called me on his way to work this morning, and he's like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? How am I doing? I'm fine. My day is off and running. I drove to the office for my podcast, and I forgot my computer, and now I'm doing it from. Oh, it's fine. It's a great day." And he's like, no, he's like, Dylan's been in his own bed for a week for the first time in his life. Like, are you okay? And I'm like, well, now that you brought it up, no. But so I
Oh
get
my
it. I mean, I know what you're saying is real, but it's also hard.
oh, I'm not, I'm preaching, but I'm definitely not immune to this feeling. My son is home for the holiday break from college, from his first year in college, and like I told him about some home improvements that I'm planning, and he's like, "Oh, great, you wait till I move out." And I'm like, "No, it's for when you move back in." Right?
What did he say?
He just like laughed and he knows me by now. But I think the point is like, look, we want them to know they don't need us,
Right.
but we're always here for them when when and if they do. Like you give them the wings, but you're like, but you can come back to the nest because
Yeah.
we'll always be here.
Yeah.
But your wings work, you know?
Your wings do work. Oh my god. All right, well, I have some time for this, so check on me in a couple years when this is relevant to me, and I'll probably be a hot mess.
Yeah.
I think my husband's just glad that he might get to sleep in a bed again soon, so I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. But I truly will. That's my mom advice, take the cuddles forever. Everybody's like, "Get them in their own beds." I'm like, no."
No, I know. But don't rush it.
Take the
I
cuddles
mean, you got
forever.
that.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, for those of you listening, your masterclass today was about not building your identity around being needed. I think this is probably one of the most interesting and differentiated don't do that's that we've had so far. So, thank you for that, Dani. And I think relevant, like you said, to all of us in so many ways, both professionally and personally. So, I'm going to go cry into my lunch thinking about being an empty nester. And in the meantime, I want you all to think about the ways that you empower your people, that you help people step up, and that you make sure that they want you and you're adding value, but they don't need you all the time. I think that's such good advice and probably something I needed to hear. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
Of course.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to be notified when new episodes become available. And please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This podcast is sponsored by Intentionally, a financial services growth engine design consultancy and agency. If you want to learn more, please email me at kelly@growintentionally.com. Thank you again for listening, and check back to hear what we're not doing next.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kelly Waltrich. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.